minutes from November 24th.
Make a motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next, before we get into the folder, Missy is here with an update for access, so I will let Missy go first. I think that's on. You want to just check it?
Hello?
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to come. I'm Misty Calderwood. I am the new executive director over at Access, and I wanted to give you an update as far as what we've been doing. This past summer, we held summer camp where we had 32 kids. We had 6 leaders and 4 youth leaders as well. We were able to keep the groups small and keep them in what we were calling little pods so that we could follow the CDC guidelines. Some of the activities that we did was we were taking the kids to the town beach every day. We were going in the morning so the town beach could stay within the CDC guidelines with the town being able to go as well. The kids were learning about plants. They learned about different cultures. They were building. We did tie-dyeing. Kids did karate 2 times a week for the entire summer. We did a week-long police academy, which ended with a water fight between the Access kids and the officers. Access won, just want to say. We also went canoeing, hiking, and a whole lot of other things. The parents were very thankful for us to be holding summer camp because of having their kids being quarantined and remote for the entire end of the school year. They were ready to get them outside. So we were able to scholarship 14 kids out of those 32. This fall, we started fall programming, which began on October 6th. We have 12 kids signed up right now. We are holding program at the Elm in the conference room for this year here. It is was being held from Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 6. Some of the clubs that we were doing is we had a cooking club, we had forestry, we had arts and craft, and we were also doing a homework club. We ran until November 16th, where we were following the school's protocol, where they went into remote, so did we as well. Now what we are doing to keep the kids engaged is we are offering weekly activity boxes, which in the boxes contain books, craft. We gave them this week here, we gave them a mug with some cocoa, fun homework sheets, outside games, snacks, and craft supplies so that they had a bag of crayons, glue sticks, rulers, scissors, markers, pencil, everything that they would possibly need. The theme for this month here is Christmas, of course. And this past week was the first activity box that went out, and it was on Santa. Next week it's on the Gingerbread Boy. The 3rd week is the Grinch, and then we're following it before vacation with the Polar Express. After the new year, we're hoping to potentially partner with the school to assist with remote learning. I am also in the process of working on a warrant article for this year here. This would continue to help with the scholarships and summer camp and any supplies that we need for this year here. So.
No, thank you. I mean, that definitely sounds like great stuff for the kids in the community, and I mean, it's a huge help for the parents.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nobody else from the board has any questions for Missy? No? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Missy.
All right. Moving on. First, just FYI for now, the CDFA grant that we had applied for the feasibility study on the town beach ramp, we did receive, well, we were awarded that grant. That was for $23,500. All we've gotten so far is a letter saying that we will be receiving the grant. So once we get closer to knowing more solid numbers and time frames, we'll have to hold a public hearing and stuff. So, but we did. Good news is we did get approved for it. Next, we have a agreement here, the Winchester Economic Development Corporation is finalizing up everything out there at the Stone Mountain Park. And what they've done is they're trying to get some of the monies from the project and possibly reimburse the town with some of the costs that the town incurred through the project, which were very minimal, but the town helped them out, so they're trying to help the town out by getting some of the monies back. And what we have here is an agreement that was drafted up, just stating that basically that what they're gonna do, to try and get us some money back, and they're gonna try. It's not a guarantee, but if we get some money back, great. If not, then it stays as we contributed to helping out with some legal fees on the park. So I would just need a motion to.
Make a motion to approve that.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. There's only room for one signature. We have had no updates on that yet. I do see it's advertised, and they got a nice sign out there advertising there also. I saw it in the newspaper and somewhere else, I don't remember where now. Next, we have the tax warrant, so that we can get tax bills sent out. And this is, the total amount is $4 million, right?
Yes.
Yeah, $4,602,730.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. That part's gonna be a pain. Next we have, flipped all my paperwork upside down. Back in May of 19, we had, the board had approved the new user fees for the water department, and and we voted on it and approved it. What we have here is the fee schedule was never updated, and the regulations where the fees are was also overlooked. So this is just the updated fee schedule and regulations that reflect the user fees that we voted on. Correct, Rick? Right. Basically, we already voted on it. We need to sign it. So we probably don't even need a motion on this because we've already
We've already
signed it.
approved them.
Except James won't be able to sign it because he wasn't on the board then.
Correct.
I'll hand this down after so I don't have to keep rolling back and forth. Okay, next we have, Rick is here. Good, I had a question for you on this, Rick. This is the certificate of completion on the Richmond Road water main project. And before I sign this, I wanted to know, I know there was a lot of questions on the sidewalk out there, and I just wanted to know for sure that we're 100% confident the project's done before we sign off that it's done.
The project is done. Obviously, we revisited the sidewalk. There was pre-construction filming of the sidewalk before the project started, and then after the sidewalk started. So we identified the areas that were in question. Holland Water went back and redid those areas of question. So there was, with the review of the sidewalk, prior to the construction, now after this is done, it meets the jobs requirements. Again, there was no sidewalk specs on on this job, because the job was to be out in the street, so there was, you know, DOT specs for paving. Unfortunately, there was no detail there for, you know, using a paving machine, because there was some question about why wasn't a sidewalk paver used, so I believe that was most of the questions that I heard.
Right.
And it was
Right.
only small portions of the sidewalk that were actually completely disturbed. Other than that, most of it was patches. So that's, and again, there's still a 1-year warranty on the job. If something did go wrong, there was a big sinkhole or something of that nature.
Are we still holding money for that? I mean, if.
Yeah, they're still holding their, well, just a typical contract, the retainage, the amount that's held, you know, till, you know, the 1 year is up. He's got a certain amount of, he can get so many days. And,
Okay.
but, like I
All
said,
right,
again,
but
he came back and completed what he needed to complete to satisfy the job for the town.
So you're satisfied that the job is
I
complete?
am satisfied with the job. Like I said, there was some questions about, I believe the sidewalk is fine, it's the type of finish that was done. They used a pull box, a drag box, that dragged the box along.
Yeah,
So that's some of the stuff that our highway superintendent didn't specifically like. I tried to push that, encourage that they used a paving machine, but unfortunately, once they re-sided the sidewalk, bringing a paving machine was not realistic, because they would have to pull all the whole sidewalk up, even the
Right.
stuff. Because basically what they had done, that I asked them to do to try to clean it up, is overlay the whole sidewalk. So that gets that started some of the problem of, you know, the type of finish that we had.
yeah,
So basically, that's why we ended up in the position we were. So I told Dale, in lieu of what's gonna happen next year, the road's gonna be resurfaced, you know, some of those intersections or whatever, if there's some places, we'll go back and between the highway and the water department, we'll straighten those out if there's something that he feels that it needs to be done. There was some questions, you know, like Bilo, couldn't stop the paving there. I tried to stop it from being paved until we were done doing what we were doing, but Allstate wouldn't allow that to happen. Dale said he couldn't stop the wheels in motion. So, you know, you got some places that we shouldn't have had, you know, cut-ins to
Right.
the new asphalt, but I couldn't. It just was impossible to stop. And
right, right.
Like I said, and some of the patches are a little rough, but we more or less accepted them because it's going to be resurfaced again by DOT.
Yep,
So I hope that answers that question why
Yeah.
we accepted it.
Yep.
It met the specifications of the job as that we had written up.
right. All right, so I just need a motion to accept and sign off on the completion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. Again, there's only room for one signature. Next, we have a tax levy for timber tax. The amount of $4,269.42 for map 15, lot 53.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Next is the contract our attorney's been working on with Revision Energy. As we had asked them to do, they finally come to an agreement on the contract for out to the sewer department, or the wastewater treatment plant. And there's actually 2 parcels of land out there. So there's 2 pages to sign, on the one for each parcel of land. And all of it's just one signature. So our attorney has worked with them on this and created this. So I am confident in our attorney's decision, so.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. I will sign those in a minute, so I don't waste too much time right now. Next in here, Primex drafted up a policy for us, and all policies would have to go through a public hearing before they're adopted. And what this policy is a, they called it a personal tool storage policy and agreement. And this is for any town employee that wants to bring their own personal tools in to assist with their jobs, whether it's highway department bringing tools or water department. However, in the past, there's been a bunch of exceptions and things made, but we have never had a policy for it. So what we have here is a draft policy. I would like to set a public hearing for the 30th, the last day of December, or the last meeting in December. And that'll give everybody time to review this policy before that. Is everybody okay with a
Yep.
public hearing on the 30th? So that'll be a public hearing on the 30th at 7 o'clock. Also, before I lose my note that I wrote 2 notes on 1 card here, December is a month with 5 meetings. So my personal feeling is the 23rd, which is the Wednesday right before Christmas, would be the better week to not have a meeting and let everybody enjoy the time with their families and still have our 4 meetings. Board okay with that?
Yep.
So there'll be no meeting on December 23rd. Next, we have an agreement. Well, it's not an agreement, it's a request. Amy, as we've discussed earlier, a few meetings ago, we were talking about a tan, and Amy is we're now at a point where we need to do this. We need to take this tan out. We need to give approval first for them to even start the paperwork. But Amy's recommending right now to get us through till tax bills go out and start coming back that we're going to need $1 million tan. So it's the pleasure of the board on this.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Next, what do I have here? That was almost bad. Okay, next we have a requested payment out of the ambulance billing fund to CAG, Certified Ambulance Group, for the amount of $489.07.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Non-motion carries. Next is a request for payment out of the cemetery building donation checking account. The total amount, excuse me, is $1,860.03. That is broke down into 5 different checks. The first one is W.B. Mason and Company for $399.99. One to Main Street Mini Mart for $210. One to Home Depot for $477.92. One to Blue Tarp, which is Aubuchon Hardware, for $53.12. And one to Hamshaw Lumber for $719.
I'll make a motion to approve those 5.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. And next in here we have 3 water abatements. I'm going to do each one individually because all 3 are kind of different. The first one is for ADB Scotland Road. This is map 24, lot 10-1. The abatement request is $100. Rick denied it because it's outside of his jurisdiction to approve these. It's up to the board. This one, the reasoning for is because the tenant that was in one of the apartments passed away, and unfortunately the apartment had to sit with the tenant's belongings in it for a while due to no family in the area. So there was nothing, no services being used in the apartment, and he was stuck sitting on it for quite a while. So he was hoping for the abatement for that time period, which was $100. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Rick, you denied that, or you?
He denied it because he can't approve these. It's
Yeah, I
up to
know
the
that.
board to approve them.
You recommend that?
The only thing I can add is that typically we don't approve unrented apartments. That's not a typical abatement that we would approve, but again, all cases are up to the Board of Selectmen. I realize this is a little bit, I believe it's somewhat COVID-19 related. I believe that's what the death related from. So just for clarity, that
Yeah,
normally we
that's all.
don't, for unrented apartments, we don't abate. But again, I would make note that I believe that's your part of the request, correct, Ben?
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's all I'd like to add.
I'll make a motion to approve that abatement.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. The next one was just a billing error.
Both of those
Well, they both are, but the second one I gotta recuse myself from, so I was gonna do this one and then,
okay.
then the last one. This one's, map, where'd it go? Oh, right there. Map 34, lot 33. The address is 37 Mechanic Street. This one is not mine. I live at 60 Mechanic Street. This is for $50 for a billing error.
Yeah, make a motion to approve that.
And this was for water, by the way,
Yeah.
sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. The last one is for me. I'm only gonna read it, but I'm gonna abstain from any voting. This is map 28, lot 66, 60 Mechanic Street. There was a billing error. There's a water and sewer abatement requested. The water dollar amount is $1,368.31, and the sewer requested amount is $1,629.86. And only because it's mine, like I said, I'm gonna abstain from voting, but I would like to ask Rick to explain the reason for the abatement.
Yes, occasionally our meter reading system will pull in a number to an account that doesn't belong to that account. Obviously, we try to review all those, all the accounts with high usages, such as this case, and we went back and reread it, but unfortunately, the procedure makes us file an actual abatement request that it was actually a mistake, and that identifies the mistake, so the accounting process can identify that. So that's why that type of thing's done, because unfortunately, that's how our system works when it draws. It should draw in all the right numbers to the right accounts, but occasionally, because this is a radio read system, sometimes this does happen. But like I said, it shouldn't. All the endpoints and the meters should all match up together with the computer system, but for some reason, there's always a glitch in the system. And this is a glitch, and this shows how it happens, but just to explain to the public, this is how this is taken care of, so it's transparent, that it's seen when we have our audit done.
Thank you.
Thank
Rick.
you.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All right. I'm obviously not voting, but all those others in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, the motion carried 3-0 with one abstention. Okay, next here we have, Dylan came in last week and spoke to us a little bit about the parking on Main Street. And we had asked Mike to come in this week, and Dylan's back here again as he scheduled a meeting. Did you want to speak on this, Dylan?
Eastman. I'm here wearing multiple hats. One is a resident of 144 Main Street, and one is a business owner in 144 Main Street, and one is a part building owner of 3 buildings on Main Street in general. I came in just kind of bring it up last week. We are at the winter parking time of the year. We also all know we have a 2-hour Main Street parking ordinance. It's one of those things where the responsible people kind of follow the rules and the non-responsible people kind of flout the rules. So I just kind of maybe want to open it for the board to look at and decide and weigh in from the police department to how to best handle it. Hopefully here the diner reopens, and all of us in COVID world would appreciate Winchester having as much business as possible. And right now, there's one particular residential building on Main Street that basically abuses the parking scenario, and it infringes on everyone else. So I will say any building I'm associated with, none of our tenants park on Main Street ever. I might park there to unload the truck to go on into the business, but we all park other places. We walk 2 blocks, we walk a block. We do what we need to do to make sure that Main Street's open for business and not necessarily a residential situation. I could not find, what I could find in the winter parking was a very general statement that the town reserves the right to tow, but it doesn't necessarily say that the town must tow. I could not find the 2-hour parking. I thought Winchester was on Unicode, but I couldn't find the actual ordinance.
Dylan, there's a copy right up here.
So I'm not sure with just, I can look at this later, but
Just go on to the second page. That you want to,
The very top one is winter parking.
winter parking, winter parking.
yeah, so the winter operations is kind of, the town may do it, and this definitely reads that it's just plainly unlawful. And then with the 2-hour, you know, I guess long story short is, how can we better police this, so to speak, that doesn't put more burden on the actual police department? Just to make sure that, number one, when I'm trying to sleep at night, I don't have car alarms going off because people can't seem to fix their cars. And number two, when we're actually trying to use the street for business purposes, we don't have the first 5 parking spots adjacent to the building that uses it the most, blocking other businesses. You know, it's going to be hard for everybody to figure out a strategy that doesn't mean like having a dedicated towing department, which we're not going to have. But how do we best do it, given the fact that this is something that everyone agreed on and it's written down and it's what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, it's definitely been agreed on in the past that there's definitely a problem. I know just in the 4 years I've been on the board, we've flip-flopped different policies a few times, trying to figure out something that would work, and we've been unsuccessful.
If I could ask one question, because I couldn't find it in the tax maps, but are the 3 spots in front of 2 through 20 Keene Road private property, or is that public?
That is,
That would be public, I believe. It's public.
yeah, that's all public, that's all within the state. Because they're the ones that paved that little
Yeah.
peninsula
So those
for
3
the
spots
sidewalk.
are permanently occupied by one building, and then it overflows in front of other buildings. So in theory, the 3 parallel spots there should also be vacated at night in the winter, correct?
That's correct.
In theory, they're all included, and that's what we, I think, I don't remember if it was last winter or the winter before, where we had the police department try to definitely stay on those parking spots. Keep them empty when they're supposed to be empty.
And then conversely, in the summer, if someone wants to stop in the nice town of Winchester because it's looking so cute and they want to spend their money, they should be able to, in theory, park in one of those spots and walk on our partially new sidewalks downtown without it being permanent parking for a single building to which it looks like it belongs but doesn't technically fully belong.
Right, right. And that's the same issue we ran into when we were working on getting these parking spots fixed at the other end of Main Street. That for years the tenants used them as their own personal parking spots, and realistically they're town owned. So as soon as we fixed those, and we had to figure out a way to try and slow down the use of tenant parking there, because it's really, I mean, tenants are allowed to park just like in shoppers are, but they have to park within the rules, same as somebody shopping. Yeah, I mean, we definitely need to figure out something better.
I spoke to Margaret today about that, and she said she's going to send a letter to the property owners telling them to tell the tenants that they can't park anymore during this thing. Also, I said to her, you ought to send it to the tenants, because the landlord probably don't give it to the tenants. So it's the people that live there that should be aware if they can't park there. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and as a landlord that actually is here, we make it clear when you move in, you're not going to do this because I'm going to hear about it, and it might be that other landlords don't live in town, don't frequent the town, and it ultimately is any person that lives here, whether they own a building or rent a building, it's their responsibility to abide by the law.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you. We should definitely be sending letters to the tenants also. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to pay a towing bill when their car's all of a sudden towed.
Just so you know, Dylan, I have been out there at 3 o'clock in the morning when they've been plowing and had cars towed
Yeah.
out there. The police department was tied up on something else,
Uh-huh.
and I went out there and had them towed. They didn't like it. They didn't park there no more either.
Yeah, and it's like we're at the front part of the year, so we haven't got a good snow, so haven't got the fear of the tow man in them yet. So maybe the letter will help kind of
Yeah, I mean,
start the conversation.
it's really doing people a favor. I mean,
Yeah.
forewarning them that, hey, look, it's a law already. It's posted right there on a sign, but move your car, it's going to cost you some money.
Right, so the winter and nighttime thing is part of it, and then I'd like to figure out something for the 2-hour thing. It's
Yeah, I mean, the 2-hour
one thing if
parking.
you're here to visit, but like it became permanent parking for a
Right.
single building.
I mean, the 2-hour parking's always been in effect. I think for the whole 4 years I've been on, that's been a rule. And the 2-hour parking is only from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Everything from 2 through 20 Keene Road down to 78 Main Street. Other way around, yeah. And I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Mike, did you have any concerns, questions, comments?
So good evening, Board. It sounds like your main problem is 2 through 20 Keene Road. That's your main beef. Yes, it's always been a problem. Yes, every fall as we get near this time, I speak to the owner of that building and remind him to remind his people they can't park there. It's an ongoing thing. We have a lot of discretion, a lot of times it's just education and reminding folks of it. As far as enforcing, sure, when I can have my officers go out there and write tickets and tow cars when we are not doing other things. As far as we can enforce, number one, I guess the ordinance is may, it's not shall, so there's a lot of discretion there. I know that, you can't park there overnight, so I'm not sure what spurred this all of a sudden to be another issue, but can we enforce it and write everybody tickets and tow vehicles? Absolutely, that's always an option. The harder part to enforce is the daytime 2-hour parking. There's now case law with the Supreme Court where you cannot chalk tires. That's how cops used to do it in the old days. You put a mark on the tire, you come back 2 hours later as you're walking your beat, and that mark hasn't moved, boom, that's a ticket. So you can't chalk tires anymore. I'm not sure how to enforce the 2-hour limit. I mean, is the main issue because they're parked right in front of the distillery? If they were parked in front of the diner, would that be better?
Well, I would say the law, aside from the law, if it was generally dispersed, it would be noticed and once caught up. I think if anyone would agree that we all want to see the diner, and that all 6 cars are in front of the diner and no one can stop getting the eggs, we all go collectively, like, this isn't good for the town. So it's just the closest spots
Mm-hmm.
are blocking
Right.
buildings that we're going to be renovating on 30 Street. So, like, at some point, the snow thing isn't as big of a deal for me. It's just it's a comment that, like, it's the start of winter.
Sure. Sure.
Maybe an introduction to bring it back.
Sure.
So that it's not, because that building, 2 through 20, it's extremely easy for them to walk straight across the street.
Right.
Whereas we on the other side go to the opposite side of Ashley, like to overflow because we got the bridge, whereas they have.
So, yeah, I did communicate via email with Mr. Ferris, who owns and runs that 2 through 20 this week. I was told that they just bought Dino's Pizza, and so they're going to look at the space between 2 through 20 and Dino's for more parking, which will give them 3 spots. But then I'm thinking, how are you going to park 3 or 4 cars there and back out onto Keene? So that's a whole nother nightmare that we'll have to work through as they move forward. Really, I guess the only option is, I put out a directive to my folks saying, ticket and tow everything. I will say that we don't write a lot of parking tickets. What we will run into is people do not pay them. So then I send an officer back to whatever address that person lives at. We knock on the door, let them know, hey, you got a ticket. This is a courtesy. If we don't hear from you, we're going to do a warrant. We do a warrant. We serve that person a piece of paper, a civil forfeiture, and then they get a date to go to court. And then the officer has to go to court 3 to 6 months later, and this is over a $20 parking ticket, $25 parking ticket. So I just want everybody to understand, I have no problem. I can enforce the law all day long and arrest people and all that stuff. That's what we do. But there is a lot to it. This is not just writing a ticket, because it's going to bleed over, and it's going to, and I'm not saying we can't handle it. I just want the board and you to know there's a lot more to it than just writing a ticket, because they don't pay their tickets. Very rarely do they pay them. So it's just a lot of paperwork, and it's a lot of hours of work to get that person to Keene District Court. Then if they don't show up for their court date after all of this, guess what happens to them? Nothing. It's a default, which means when they go to renew their license, then they've got to pay the fine. We have no recourse after that. So there's no easy answer to this. I totally get the issue and the problem, because it does come up a few times a year where we have to really hammer this. So we will start doing that again, making sure we're on it. We'll start with the education piece, as far as sending letters to everybody, from 2 through 20 all the way down to whatever the address is past Danny's store, because those folks can't really park there either overnight and so forth. So we'll start doing that and see if it helps, and start the dialogue with everybody and see what we can do to make it go away.
All right.
All right.
Do you think, just as you're speaking, I thought of, and rereading this parking ordinance, do you think it'd be helpful to possibly reach out to like Keene, where, only because I know from paying Keene hundreds of dollars in parking tickets, that they have a pretty good policy on parking, and maybe getting a copy of their policy and seeing what we can update on ours?
Well-
Would be a little bit better for you, because like you and you even mentioned, and Dylan mentioned also, that some of the things, almost everything in here says shall be.
Right.
Which doesn't mean that it's gonna be, it does, I mean, I hate seeing that. It's
Right.
something that leaves everything way too open for interpretation. I'd rather say,
I
we're
can
gonna do this or
definitely,
we're not.
I can definitely reach out to Keene. I will tell you, the civil forfeiture form that we use, if I write you a parking ticket, Ben, and you don't pay it, the form we use, I got from Keene a couple of years ago. As far as their ordinance, I can take a look at it. Maybe we can pick and choose pieces that will work for Winchester. I'm assuming Keene's parking ordinance is probably 10 pages long. I'm not sure. But I can take a
Sure,
look
it's
at
probably
that.
pretty huge, but I'm just thinking also because like Keene also has like most, and now I'm comparing a city, well, the city of Keene to rural Winchester, but they have like, after so many tickets, your car's towed, and then the impound lot holds your car until you pay off all your tickets. So that, something like that could help avoid the whole court process.
That would help avoid the court process. The thing that we would need to think about at that point is, are you contracting with a tow company who has the facility to store those vehicles? That's a whole other thing.
Right.
That could be a bit of a moneymaker, a little bit for the town, if we had an impound lot where vehicles go once they're towed. So that's another, thing we can look at. But the biggest thing is education, enforcement. I'll throw out the idea, I'm sure it would go over like a lead balloon, but parking meters,
No,
see, there we go.
I'm against them.
But, I know, but so, that's an easy way with the 2-hour limit during the daytime.
Yeah, no, it's the easiest way to monitor and measure the time distance, but it's the least business friendly
Correct.
thing
Right.
in the world.
I mean, the fact is, and I say this to Mr. Ferris, who runs that building 2 through 20 Keene, every time I talk to him. Those folks know when they move in there that they're gonna have to park across next to Center Church or at the overflow lot, because it's mainly that building and those few folks that have vehicles that are causing the issues for the most part. And as much as he can put a note in with their rent bill or whatever he does to educate them, it just goes in one ear and out the other.
Right.
So we'll continue to do what we do, put a little more focus on it and see how it goes and just kind of move forward from there. And I'll look at Keene's
Yeah,
ordinance.
see if there's a way we can make our ordinance better.
Right, yeah, because that would be a fine thing to do as well. So, any further questions?
Anything else from the board on this, or?
Well, I've never noticed, but I don't believe there's zero signage with any of this, right? I mean,
Yeah, no,
there's
there's
something in the
there's
alleyway.
signs, there's
No,
signs
there are
all up.
signs now.
Parking.
Oh,
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are
Okay.
signs along in front of the distillery, all the way down to Danny's store. I don't believe there are signs, and I don't know the numbers, like 80 through 96 or,
There was one down there.
I think
that
it
we
just
Put
says-
up last year.
yeah, so I'll have to check that tomorrow. We might need a sign or two more at that end, but I know this whole section is signed, so
So
we're good
last year,
there.
we ended up changing the way the signs were because we had now every other sign is one's 2-hour, the 2-hour parking notice, and the next one's the overnight winter hours.
Correct,
Because at first we had all the 2-hour parking signs up, but no overnight parking in the winter time, so it was kind of a pain.
right.
So we went to every other sign so that it was all covered. But,
If we work together, we can figure it
Yeah.
out.
all right,
thank you, Mike.
did you have anything else on that, Dylan, or are you good with that?
I don't want to put any more burden on the police department. Obviously, Ben and I pay a lot of money to Keene for tickets, and they have a whole
Yeah, thank you for coming in, Mike. That's all that's in the folder. Excuse me. The only thing I did have is I just want to let the board know and everybody else know that last night we did have a budget meeting with the school. It was the first meeting on the school budget, and I think there was a lot of good question and answer going on throughout the night. There was quite a few questions that the budget committee had that before they could take any action on anything on the budget, and the school was good about getting us answers to those that they had available with them, and are working on getting the answers to everybody for next week's meeting, because there's another budget meeting next Tuesday at 6 o'clock here at the town hall. That summed that meeting up pretty well, didn't it? I think all in all the meeting went pretty well. And that's all I had. Does anybody else from the board have anything? No? All right, at this time I'll open it to public comment for 15 minutes.
Natalie Cavedo on 12 Schuyler Street. I just wanted to give a suggestion for the parking that you guys were talking about. I grew up in a town where there was 0 overnight parking, about the size of Winchester. A lot of back roads, everybody had a driveway or didn't have a driveway. We didn't have meters in the town, but what the town did do, because we were struggling, with tax revenue, was to take people who were in apartment buildings and now charge for a public spot that they could pay monthly to park in overnight. So it did increase the tax revenue for the town. These people who did have cars had somewhere to park, but they were designated spots, so the businesses were not, out of a spot all the time. So I just wanted to put that in front of you for something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lindsay Pecard, 96 Richmond Road. Last week there was a question about the town fund balance. I call it the unreserved fund, but I don't think that's what it's called. The general fund, excuse me. In 2019, the general fund balance was $229,000, and following your 2020 audit, your new fund balance is $639,000, and I was hoping that there would be some explanation as to where that $400,000 came from. I'm also curious about the process, just because I would have thought a conversation like that would have happened in public, alerting us that there was money left that wasn't going to be turned back to the tax rate, but rather put into the fund. So could we just get some more explanation about that?
I don't have a lot of explanation about that. I can say, though, however, that the board has we don't have conversations on that at all. Amy, our business manager, submits the numbers to the DRA, and we get the paperwork back from the DRA, and that's the number that's on the paperwork.
It comes from the MS5 that our auditors do.
So you don't know where in your budget you saved $400,000 last year?
I don't know how the DRA comes up with that number.
So basically, our auditors pull those numbers from the MS5. It's based on numerous different items. Basically, it's from the asset to liability is what I was told today. So it's not money that we have kicking around. It's based on assets to liability.
Well, I will have to do a little more research about that myself. I'm just, having sat on the budget committee last year, racking my brain trying to figure out where $400,000 came out of your audit. I'm also really not clear why that number just poof is there without conversation happening at the select board level about that. And frankly, it's a little concerning that you don't understand where that number comes from or have some answer to that besides just it's an asset and liability.
That's a number that's generated between our auditors and the Department of Revenue. The Board of Selectmen has nothing to do with that process. That's the only answer that I have for that. Anybody else from the public have anything?
Chris Stedman, back Ashwayla Road. I also have an enforcement issue. It's my understanding that J&G lost its license to have a junkyard. But as somebody who drives by there at least twice a day, it seems to me that there's quite a bit of activity going on that would constitute being a junkyard, dismantling cars, not repairing them by any stretch of the imagination. I see this all the time. It seems to move their activities from back behind up to the front, in front of the bays and in the bays themselves. So, you know, as somebody who drives by there all the time and lives along the river and is keenly aware of certain environmental pollutions that go on, I'm wondering, I just want to bring it to your attention that there's stuff going on there I don't think that they're supposed to be doing. I did mention this to our missing board member last week. I tried to get here in time, but wasn't able to do that. So just, that's all I want to do is just consciousness raising.
All right, thank you, Chris. Yeah,
Bring that up to Margaret.
yeah. I know that there has been multiple letters sent, both from the town and from the attorney, and DES is involved in that property already. So we will have to find out where in the process that is. Right now, that's in the hands
Okay, well,
outside of ours.
Can't do anything, so now you
Yep.
know.
Thank you.
Chris, you're not the only one that's complained about it, because we've had other complaints, and we spoke, as a matter of fact, Margaret and I spoke about it again today, and, she's waiting for guidance from the attorney, and then the board has to make a decision where she's gonna go with it.
I have no doubt that you hear about it with some regularity.
Oh, God.
I just haven't whined about it publicly in a while, so,
Yeah,
you know,
Thank you.
thought it'd help relieve stress.
Yeah.
thank you, Chris. Anybody else? Mike?
Mike's got a swimming pool upstairs in the clock.
After that rain we had the other day, I think everybody's got a swimming pool somewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's not what you think. As Dylan had mentioned, the development company has floated a trial balloon before planning about setting up low-income housing over at Dino's. I don't know how far that's going to go, but we know one thing is for certain, that in January we're likely to have a Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe we should think about proactively engaging with Global on the acquisition of that property, which could then be used for community parking. Either knock the building down, give us additional parking for the old Cheshire Savings Bank building, and convert the land that's there to a park. It's something that might alleviate the congestion on the streets.
That's,
Something you put in your hat.
yeah, that's a discussion that was had, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't remember, somewhere within the, while the court battle was going on. And I
Well,
know.
at 14 Michigan, we did get a
Right.
tacit approval from their rep that
Right.
give us the bank building.
Right, and I know there was some conversations about it since everything was cleared and going through, but I don't know if Global has completely decided what they're doing yet with that property, so.
Well, I guess the hope would be that the convenience store doesn't stay there, would get another gas station.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mike.
Thanks,
Thank you. Carrie, can you talk to Margaret about that tomorrow and have her maybe reach out to Global?
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm back. Natalie Quevedo, 112 Charlotte Street. I just wanted to say thank you on two things. Chief Toulette, thank you for putting, and Carrie, thank you for putting the speed monitor on my block. Just, can you guys flip it around the other way so it's coming off 119? Because that's where they like, whoo, fly down. Yeah. Cool, thank you guys. Second is, I want to applaud the select board. Most of you have masks on tonight and you are sitting socially distant, so thank you on that. I just wanted to know if there was a plan going forward to issue a mask requirement for our select board meetings as COVID keeps getting more and more widespread. I think we had a death in Keene yesterday. So I was just wondering if there was something we could do. It's great that you guys closed down Town Hall, but the same thing, I mean, we're right next door, we're still all gathering. They're getting sick going inside and outside, which is great. I mean, not great, sorry, but stinks for them, but don't you think it should be carried over into here? Just so we could get more people to attend as we start coming into the deliberative, and we want more people to attend meetings, to be at those meetings. I just think that some more safety measures should be put in place so we could bring all the information to the public. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? All right. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32, little c and E. A.
And E.
And, yeah. ACE.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. James Rokes.
Aye.
Herb Stevens.
Aye.
Gloria Lusta. Ben Kolansky, aye. We are now in non-public, and I do not foresee us having any other business.